Alrighty, everybody. Hello and welcome to Hoopatheticals for this week. This week we've got an absolutely explosive show, and let's just check how hot it is. Wow, explosive. So everyone get ready. That's the new technology in today. Tom, how are you going today, mate? Obviously in an undisclosed location once again.
Undisclosed location, bells in the background, but doesn't matter. I'm just pumped to be here, mate. I've literally enjoyed the finals so much. Not the finals, the playoffs so much. Basketball's just the best game in the world as far as I'm concerned. And I'm keen to dive into some different hypothetical situations, as it were.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, you've teed us up really nicely. Let's just jump straight in. Tommy, you and I both had great predictions before the previous round.
For once. First time in our entire lives we had a take that was actually on the money.
Look, I did also have a bad take. I said that it would be a Miami Phoenix final, so we've lost that one. That's tough. Look, but you live with that.
I think I said the Celtics wouldn't make it out of like the first or second round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So my takes haven't been great either, but we digress.
Look, we're both hot heading into the actual final. So, Tommy, I thought let's start with you up top, and let's talk about the Nuggets, because before this series even started, you sent me a message being like, is it just me, or is this going to be like a 4 or 5 game demolition job? And the demolition crew was definitely called in, demolishing the entire Lakers team. So tell us a bit about how you actually got to that, because I didn't see it going like that. And then tell us what you thought of it.
To be honest, mate, I just like the way the Nuggets have been playing. I just felt like the national TV conversation surrounding the Lakers was at its like most toxic, and most overblown going into like the conference finals. And I was just like, how is no one seeing how the Nuggets dismantled the Suns, like how they flew through the first round? Like this is obviously the coldest take you probably hear all day. But Jokic is obviously the MVP. And Murray's playing as good as he did in the bubble. You know what I mean? Even like their role players just like keep having surprisingly good games. Like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I don't know how the dude's still balling, but dude is balling. And yeah, I just felt like going into this series, like I actually couldn't even imagine how the Lakers were going to string together a single win. I thought that maybe they would get one win at home because LeBron would go off. And I was half right. At home, game 4, LeBron did go off, but it still wasn't enough to get the dub. So, yeah, I just feel like Denver, honestly, mate, at this rate, I'm going to double down. A Denver double down, we'll call this segment. And I'm going to say that I reckon they're going to win in the finals, whether it's Celtics or Heat. It'll probably be Heat. I think they'll win in a sweep or gentleman's sweep again.
And
that's my prediction.
That's a Tom Nixon guarantee.
You can guarantee it, mate. Oh, love that. Love that.
That's right. So I definitely didn't see it going like that. I thought it would be more like, I thought they wouldn't have answers for AD. I thought LeBron would kind of start controlling the game a lot more. But when you watched it, I mean, it was just really, do you know like, what it was close. Right? It was close. Like each of the games was pretty close, but it was still just like, you could tell LeBron was giving everything, and then it still wasn't there. Like they still couldn't.
He was so tired.
Yeah.
And people forget how big Aaron Gordon is, I think. I don't know if you saw him like in the highlights, and even when Aaron Gordon had that like little tiff with LeBron in like I think it was game 3 or whenever it was. It might have been game 4. And like I realized, I was like, Aaron Gordon's actually a beast. Like he's huge. He's more than enough a match for like LeBron, and also he's like 20 years younger than LeBron. I mean, he's not 20, but you know what I mean? Like he's half the age. So yeah, I feel like that was the answer. He played great defense. Even though he kind of got cooked for 40 in game 4, he still, I was enough to get the dub, so it doesn't matter.
That's interesting, man. I don't know. I have to say, I kind of feel the opposite way about Aaron Gordon. I kind of feel like I'm not into him. I feel like when I watch him, I see someone who's good at nothing. And I see,
Jez. This is what I feel the same way as you. But I'm gonna tell you how he's working on this team. The only reason he's working on this team is because Jokic gives him consistent under the basket dunks. He's the reason they're winning games is because Jokic is an assist master, and he's able to like get the open Gordon, open KCP, whatever it is, and that's why he makes Gordon look good. It's
Mm.
not that Gordon's actually a great basketball player. It's that he's big and he's got hops, so he can get the alley oops, he can get the dunks. That's what it
Mm.
is, mate.
Okay. All right. I just like whenever I watch him, I just go, you know who he reminds me of is kind of like the John Collinsy types where you're like, what are
Yeah,
you good at? Just tell me that.
yeah, yeah. And his 3 point shot doesn't look great. He was hitting a few though, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. He can hit a ball, and yeah, I don't know. I just think that like it's just Jokic making his teammates look better. That's essentially what it is.
Mm. All right, man. Well, that's good. So you're feeling confident heading into the finals. How do you feel like just before we get into sort of the actually no, we'll save our stuff till after we do the heat thing. Let's jump into we know what time it is. Eric Spolstra, hand us that money because it's time
Oh,
for a heat
heat
check.
check.
So that's the new jingle.
Did you write that? Or
Yeah,
that
yeah.
can't be
I
stock.
it actually was played by Miami local band Jimmy and the Butlers, and they died in the explosion at the end of that sound effect, but got great audio, so that's important. Now, before we actually get into my thoughts on the Heat, we actually have a correspondent live in Florida, so I'm actually going
Oh,
to throw over to them right now. Ryan, where are you? And tell us a bit about how you're feeling.
Thank you, Jez and Tommy. It's getting loud here on the Heat bandwagon in South Florida, where fans have been chanting, "Let's go Heat," ever since they took Game 1 over the Celtics. It's been quite a ride for Heat fans after what was a rocky regular season, but after limping into the off-season, they then faced the 8-seed Atlanta Hawks in the first play-in game, where the Hawks got revenge for last season's embarrassing exit at the hands of the Heat. Jimmy Butler and the Heatles then barely survived a feisty Bulls side led by DeRozan and Zach LaVine. Down 5 with a couple of minutes left and the season on the line, Jimmy Butler saved what would have been an embarrassing early exit. But their reward for that win was to face the 1-seed Bucks in the first round, who many saw as the favourites to win it all. But the bandwagon slowly left the station after the Heat stole Game 1 in Milwaukee, and the injury to Giannis clearly changed the series drastically. Hero going down forced both coaches to rethink their strategies, and that clearly favoured Coach Spo and their Heat. Not sure if it was pride that stopped them, but leaving Drew in single coverage on a flamethrower Jimmy was tough to watch. Then, heading into the Knicks series, there was an air of confidence. If the Heat could survive the Bucks, then the Knicks would be food. And that's exactly what they were, packed up in 6 games and probably sooner, if not for the heroics of Jalen Brunson. The Celtics rematch brought chills for many Heat fans after the heartbreak of last year, but the mental disintegration of this Celtics team has been legendary. Tatum, an MVP candidate for most of the season, scared to shoot at all in the fourth quarter of each of the first 3 games. Jaylen Brown shooting less than 10% from 3, 6th man of the year Malcolm Brogdon going ice cold, and Al Horford looking every bit of 36 years old. Now up 3-1, the bandwagon is a bursting point for Miami. Lines are as far as the eye can see, with more buses dropping people off as I speak. If the Heat do wrap this series up against Boston, I think it's safe to say the Heat would indeed be on. Back to you guys in the studio.
Beautiful. It's always good to have a live cross there from someone on the scene.
and I'll just encourage our listeners. We spare no expense. Our budget has just absolutely blown out of the roof here. I mean, with the sound effects, sending our correspondent over to Miami, we spare no expense here.
Absolutely
So,
not.
I mean, it's great to hear from Rhino.
So obviously Ryan just gave us a bit of a recap there. Now I also Ryan, while we've still got you on the line, mate, just quickly, what are your thoughts on how you see the finals going if it's a Heat Nuggets final?
Well, Jez, I mean, considering, that we make it, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic about the Heat matchup with Denver. The only reason being, I think we have the tools in place to challenge Murray and Jokic, and then I would take Miami's role players over that of Denver's. Obviously, Jokic is a different kettle of fish. He will take an exorbitant amount of work to slow down, but if Bam and to lesser extent, other bigs like Love and Zeller could slow him down. And then I think the likes of Gabe and Caleb Martin could do a really good job on Murray. I would trust Jimmy, and then the role players, shooters like Struce, Duncan, to be able to make enough shots to outplay the Denver bench. And I think that could ultimately turn the tides. Obviously, everything for Denver runs through Jokic. If Bam and co are unsuccessful in slowing him down, I think there will be some serious issues for the Heat, mainly because the offense really does feed with him. So if Jokic eats, the rest of the team will, including Murray, including some of their other bench players as well. One thing that I'm also hoping is that if we are able to extend the series, Denver do have quite a short bench, and that they don't play too many players. So hopefully, if they're able to get into foul trouble or they're just starting to get tired as the series wears on, that'll also be a factor as well.
Nice. All right, there we go. So we've got all of Ryan's take, and for people that wondering who is Ryan? Well, Ryan's been on previous episodes of Hoopatheticals. Listen back in the catalog, mate. So Tommy, what we before we get in, that's it exactly right. So Tom, before we get into my thoughts, what do you think of Ryan's take on the Heat Nuggets?
Look, I think it's a scorcher that he thinks that Bam's going to be able to contain Jokic. I just can't see that. I mean, he, for starters, he doesn't even have the height. He's definitely got the athleticism on him though, so I got that. But I just feel like Jokic is too good out of the double team, to be honest with you. And then whoever, that's his greatest strength. It's like he gets doubled, then he just passes an open bucket. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I do think though he has a fair point with regards to the bench. The thing that Miami is going for them is that they have like seemingly innumerable like amount of just faceless talent that they can just throw at anyone off the bench, and they manage to play great basketball, at least in this like series, this playoff run. It really doesn't matter who they bring off the bench. They've just been playing like lights out. I don't know how that's even happening. So I'll give him that. But I don't know. Jokic plays such an unathletic type of basketball that I can't see him getting super tired, because he actually doesn't jump and run and do fast breaks that much, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. I still got the Nuggets in 4 or 5. I'll be honest with you. It hasn't changed my opinion literally one iota, but is what it is.
All right, awesome. All right, well, let's jump. I love your take on that, Tommy, and I'm sure Ryan will have some call-ins for next time about your thoughts there. What I was going to say is, so like you made the right call about the Nuggets. I feel like I made the right call about the Heat here, and that is that I said they're just going to bully the Celtics. I said the most bullyable team left in the playoffs was the Celtics, and they were going against the bully of the playoffs, and that's exactly what's happened. They just like even their coach looks bullied. It looks it looks like it looked like he's had his head just dunked in the toilet, and then he's come back out into the next class, like, confused.
His post-game interviews, he looks like he's just trying to say the right answer. It looks like he's just like, what's the answer? I just need to say that. Just like, stop hounding me. Because like at the end of the day, his players just aren't hitting shots, and they just look like they don't want to be there. So it's kind of like, and he's kind of, doing his best. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, the reason that I also thought that the Celtics were a very bullyable team is that they don't have anybody that's really going to stand up to anybody. Like Marcus Smart appears like that person, but he isn't. And it turns out the only person they did have that does do that is Grant Williams. And he starts doing it to Jimmy. And for some reason, he starts going off. Like he's going off, Grant Williams, but the rest of the team is like, why'd you do that? Grant's like, look at me. I'm dunking it.
That photo, I don't know if you saw that still of like Malcolm Brogdon after like Grant poked the bear in like game 2 or whatever it was. Too good. I mean, to be honest, there's other things as well with the Celtics. I'm actually low-key not surprised that Al Horford is, in the words of Rhino, looking every bit 36 as he is. Because, dude, like I thought that last season was his like final, and even the season before that, I was like, he can't have much more in the tank. And I think it's just getting to the point where, like, a couple of series in, they're at the conference finals. I mean, there's only so many times you can pull off a decent performance, and all they do is feed him 3-pointers, and he's all 3 and D. So yeah, I'm not surprised with that, to be honest.
I think I also, given that factor, I mean, I think the Heat and Jimmy Butler specifically have played a really good mental game with the opposition. Yeah. I think that's been really the key part, along with Spoelstra, obviously, absolutely annihilating every coach he's going against. But I think that, with the first series, if you watch the post-game press conferences that Jimmy Butler gave, he was giving them nothing. Like, he was not poking the bear at all. He's like, they played well. It's just a one game. We just took one game. We're not celebrating yet. All that stuff. He kept it at a very low level so that Giannis didn't get activated. Giannis didn't. When Giannis starts also going supernova, it can be really tricky to deal with. With the Knicks, I think he was pretty into just getting people riled up because he didn't fear anybody on the Knicks. And you know what? He's pretty much right. Brunson was amazing, but it's like, other than that, I mean, and then I think with this team, the Celtics, I think he knows he can kind of break their spirit. So he has been trash talking a bit more, trying to get them riled up, knowing that if they get riled up and they start missing or they start making bad plays, they can get in their own heads.
And the thing is, the Nuggets don't have that kind of emotional fragility that I think the Celtics, Knicks, and to be fair, even the Bucks had a little bit. So that's why I'm kind of interested for this Heat Nuggets final. Because if we're being honest, like, I can't see him bullying. I can't see him bullying that team or that, you know what I mean, or getting under their skin.
See, I don't know. I think Jokic, you can kind of get a bit hot. I think he's been someone that's punched people before. You can, he's definitely someone that I imagine they're going to try and get in the head of a little bit. Whether that's just, trying to just make him do everything one-on-one, make his passing lanes harder and just trash talking when he does bad passes. I don't know, but I agree with you. I think it's going to be an interesting mental battle. I think it's going to be really fascinating. And you're right. There's a lot of faceless people in the Heat that are just showing up and playing well. You're like, okay, so whose night is it? Who do I defend? I don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting. I can see this being a 6-game series. I think it's just, and I wonder if the Heat's going to stay on their track of winning game 1 as well. I don't know. It's going to be trickier in Denver, but if they do win game 1, I can even potentially see this being a 7-game series. I just don't know. Yeah, because I can see this being something where Miami can get under the skin of Jokic for a game or two, or if they can get him in foul trouble or something, then they can start working. And like Ryan's saying, the bench isn't that long, so they can start can start getting other people minutes.
Foul trouble.
Then they can definitely get in the head of like people that are reserves and what have you. The brand.
I think you've got it. And I can also see Jimmy just like, I feel like weirdly enough in this series he hasn't gone as nuclear as he did in the first 2 rounds. I feel like he's been a bit more subdued. If anything, like, this has been the best team basketball that Miami's played. And I can just see him like going back in the actual finals, just starting to absolutely cook, like Jamal Murray and like Caldwell Pope, like getting those switches. I can see him putting Jokic on an island and then just flybys, all the rest of it. So yeah, I can see him taking over and at least getting 1, I reckon.
All right. Well, I reckon we've covered the finals. We've got our picks in, so we're excited to see how that goes. I think now it's time. It's time for a segment I'm going to call "Shots Fired." All right, so this is good. This is called. I thought of this segment when I was watching a particular team of in the NBA playoffs, and it's called the first team. This is who I'm selecting for first team. All needs the refs to play well. So needs the refs' help to win here. There's certain players that don't need the refs' help. I would put Jimmy Butler in that category. He's just going to play with whatever the refs are giving him. But I think there's people on the opposite end of that spectrum that if the refs aren't giving them anything, they're actually a negative to your team. So I wanted to give you some ideas. Do you want to? Are there any people that you're putting in there, Tommy? Because I've written down a list. You're coming in a little bit colder here.
Yeah, I'm coming a bit cold. I am. This isn't like maybe the most controversial take, but I'm going to have to take our MVP for the season, Joel Embiid. Joel cries a lot and is officially the worst MVP in the history of the league. Embiid, he's officially known as.
That's
Um,
shots fired right there.
I don't know if anyone would disagree with this take, but it seems like if he can't get a bucket, he'll just kind of run. And I know people criticize Giannis for this, but like he'll just run at someone and then get a call. You know what I mean? And he'll just get frustrated. So yeah, that's my take. Hot off the press.
Well, that's beautiful, Tommy, because Joel Embiid was my starting center.
Great.
So we've got him in. Now, did you want to take anybody at guard? At guard, does anybody fancy you?
At the point, I'm probably going to take Joel Embiid's teammate James Harden. You know what? It's going to be hard to not just list the whole Philadelphia, starting five really at this rate. But I'm going to have to take Harden. I just look at how many points he scored in fourth quarters in the last series. That's all I'm going to say. And I've got, hold on, just while we're there, I'm going to take someone on the wing. I'm going to have to take Jason Tatum. I'm going to have to. I'm so sorry. If we're talking about fourth quarter scoring, Mans just can't do it. He's just not up to it at the moment.
Wow. So you've got Harden, you've got Tatum, you've got Embiid. Wow. Look, I had Harden and Embiid as well. I was watching the Sixers, and I'm like, if the refs aren't giving them anything, this team actually has no chance of winning. There's if they're not getting calls, they can't win. So that's what inspired this segment. But I wanted to give you some other people on this list for me. I've even included a sixth man on here, and this sixth man is trying desperately hard to get into the starting lineup. There's just no room, unfortunately. So I've got at my point guard, I actually had someone else. I had Trae Young. This man, if he doesn't get calls, he can average 11 points a season. Throwing up some of the worst bricks.
A lot of cardio. Yeah.
11 points, no defense, and just only the most obvious assists. So we'll put him in.
And at least three very deep 30-foot three-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be averaging that at least a half.
Uh-huh.
So
and you know one of those is coming. If they're down 5 with 30 seconds left on the clock, you know that's coming.
Yep.
And you know it's an air ball.
It's my favorite shot in basketball. I think they call it the best shot in basketball as well.
So at shooting guard, I had James Harden. I mean, the man. No more needs to be said. Some controversial people at forward. I had number 1 was Julius Randle. The man, fair. Not only it's kind of a double-edged sword for him, because not only if he's does he not play well if he's not getting calls, but he actually goes even worse. He just stops playing. He'll just stand still and argue a call while there's a whole game happening in the other half court.
My favorite as well. You can also put him in starting 5 of jacks up a 3 when he gets frustrated to try and bring the team back within, a point or two. The amount of times I've seen him attempt just the most ridiculous step back. It's like, mate, you are not and will never be Steph Curry. I'm sorry to say. It's just not happening.
Well, speaking of people that like to jack up a 3 at inopportune times that probably don't have the skill set, my other forward spot, I had LeBron. Now, LeBron, that's probably a bit harsh, but the man, I mean, if we definitely don't want, next episode we got to do first team all jacks up a 3 at the worst time. It's the first team last person you want to see throwing up a 3-pointer down 7 with 40 seconds left on the clock.
If Thanasis Antetokounmpo isn't in that, please.
No, I've said LeBron only because LeBron, you can see he's one of the hardest actors you'll see working in the NBA today.
Yeah.
The man needs a SAG-AFTRA acting awards card, because it's just unreal. The flopping that goes on and just the pure frustration that is felt when he doesn't get a call, and that can affect how he plays, I think. But did you have any ideas of who might be sixth man? Trying as hard as possible. The only reason, and I'm going to give you a clue, the only reason they're not on this list is because they are too good. But they're trying desperately to be on the needs the refs help to play well first team.
It's tough. I'm thinking like, I don't know. I haven't got anyone. Surprise me.
I'm going to tell you. So this person, like I said, they're too good to be on the team, but if they got a little bit worse, they'd definitely be on the first team, and that's Luca.
Actually, facts. I mean, and he also just, please put him on first team, gets frustrated if he's not dropping 40 every night somehow. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't get, he's like, he overachieves so much, he gets frustrated if he's not the dude. Like, if he's not the dude, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know. I mean, this is my hot take. You can take this one to the bank, Jez.
Hold on, wait.
I don't
Tommy,
know.
I think this could be a Singer. Let me just.
Okay.
Watch your eyebrows, everybody. Hot take incoming.
Hot take. Luca's never winning a chip.
Oh, that's huge.
I can't say it. I can't say it. I can't see him having the team chemistry. I can see him only just trying to pair up like in duos and stuff. I can't see him winning the chip. I can see him getting MVP for sure. I can see him getting to the finals. Can't see him winning at all. That's my Singer for the day.
You know what? I did. This is just, we're going off road here a little bit, but I actually did have this as another thing that I did want to talk about. We don't have that long, so I'm just going to throw my thoughts out there. I had the exact same thought, and this was something I was going to title "Why Heliocentric Offenses Don't Work." Like, you know, obviously Luca, your hardened types that when they like playing their way, I have the ball all the time. I think I've got the answer why. It's because no one else on the rest of the team is warm to shoot a basketball, you know, like they're getting a shot. If it's a 1 in 5 chance they're going to get it, or it's probably more like a 1 in 15 chance they're going to get the ball. That's what's that, once a quarter, you know, maybe twice a quarter. They basically have 1 second to shoot, so they're probably never in rhythm. And then also their whole life, they've been the best player on every team they've been on. And now they're just asked to stand in the corner and to play defense. Like, that must be so disheartening and frustrating. I feel like they get also no praise when they win. Like, you know, like if they win, it goes straight to Luca. What an amazing game. And so they've done all this. They've basically sacrificed their entire basketball playing game for hopefully this person to win a championship. I think it's why people like Jokic and Giannis and stuff do inspire their players. Jimmy Butler as well, because they do a lot of the grunt work as well. So they inspire them. They're feed hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to feed you the ball. You cook. I don't want to cook all the time. I don't think it's best in my term.
Yeah.
And I also think that as a game goes on, mathematically, like if you just look at the straight maths, it might make the most sense for Luka to have the ball all the time. But I think if it's the fourth quarter and he's had it the whole game, there's no way that him having that fully tired is better than Tim Hardaway, who's barely moved all game, you know?
100%, dude. I also just think that and in those situations, they just keep progressively taking worse and worse shots. Like Luka just keeps resorting to that step back to the left three, like deep three. And you're like, I think even he knows it. He's like, I can't be it every single game all the time. But yeah, that's my scorcher for the day, mate. I'm going to stick with that. We can get that pinned up somewhere in the Hoopathetical hot take box in our studio, which will happen one day.
That's it. We need to sell like a meal deal and the extra spicy comes with a specialized take. And I think you've got one there, Tommy. All right, Tommy. Well, we've only got a short amount of time left. So it's time for our popular segment, Agent Cody Bank. And you know there's a jingle. Beautiful. So it's Agent Cody Bank. This is the segment where we spend 30 seconds working as the agent for an NBA player to try and get them the bag. Often they're unusual or unknown people that we want to try and tell teams all their best features and get them a bag. So Tommy, as we know, you've got 30 seconds on the clock. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I've got a good one for you. Can I go first for you?
All right, let's do it. Ready?
I'm throwing you a bit of a curveball. This Agent Cody Banks is for Doc Rivers.
Oh, all right. Doc Rivers. Look, the man's got one of the best voices in the NBA. And I mean that in the locker room and in a microphone. He's been on a championship team. His teams are relevant all the time. And if nothing else, your team's going to be talked about because if Doc Rivers is your coach, there are podcasts that are being made talking about him with a whole segment. And plus, he used to play basketball.
Okay. He has played basketball before. Could I just do a quick addendum
Yep.
to the Doc Rivers Agent Cody Banks? I think that he would be a great coach for a rubbish team. I think his problem is that he keeps going to good teams, and he needs to go to like the Hornets or like the Pistons, because then he's going to take that team. He's going to get them like 50 wins. They're going to get to the first or second round. They're going to exit like they usually do, throw away a 3-1, 3-2 lead, whatever it is. But because he's done it with a crap team, everyone will think he's the best. He'll get coach of the year. He's back in.
Nice.
And he'll get the bag.
A confidence
That's
boost. There you go, Tommy, with the additional Agent Cody Bank. Love to hear it, Tommy. All right, Tommy.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw you someone, and I just want you to give us how you're going to get them a bag next season. Your Agent Cody Bank is Grant Williams.
Oh, no. If you need someone in your team who's only good at talking about how good he is at defense, I've got the man for you. Dude can throw up threes. They won't go in, but he can throw them up. He has a specialty in poking bears and in getting absolutely cooked in the playoffs. If you want a man who's going to come off the bench and just throw a body, then I've got the guy for you. It's Grant Williams. He has a face that looks both like he's 40 and 4 years old at the same time. The offense won't know what to do with him. You will, though. Put him in.
You're right. He does look 40 and 4 at the same time. It looks like that movie Boss Baby. That's kind of what it looks like.
He's got like big, like weirdly wet lips all the time, and it's like, what's going on?
It looks like someone's drawn facial hair on an infant. Is kind of the vibe he's giving.
Is Agent Cody Banks just turning into roast an NBA player? For
You better
30
believe
seconds?
it. All right, Tommy. Well, that's all the time we've got. What a great Hoopatheticals. Feel like we covered a lot. I think we've got to catch up again, either towards the end of the finals or after the finals to give our final takes. But until next time, everybody, Finn.
Finn.